Hello everyone, today's video is going to be a palette tag. This was requested by some people on a recent video that I did. I believe it was my Throwback Thursday Get Ready With Me. I was kind of talking about how Betty Jean here on YouTube, I will link her channel down below, recently did this eyeshadow palette collection tag, and she's been doing a lot of tags recently, which have been very fun. But some of you guys have requested that I partake in this tag. Now this tag is a little bit older, so some of the prompts would be a little dated. We'll get there. I am taking all the prompts from Betty Jean's description box, and I will be answering them in today's video. I will leave all these prompts in the description box so you can either answer them in the comments. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts and feelings on some of these prompts and palettes that you would mention, or if you have a YouTube channel, I would love to see your video. And I did get this from Betty Jean. She didn't create the tag, but it's been so long. Someone somewhere made the tag. The first question is my all-time favorite palette. And I want to preface this that I wanted to pick different palettes for each prompt. I do have like 80 palettes in my collection. There is no reason why I need to have duplicate palettes in a palette tag. So my all-time favorite palette, I really don't think you guys are all that surprised. So this is my Secret Garden palette from Bella Beauté Bar. I know it doesn't show today, I'm wearing bright blue, but I am a lover of neutrals, pinks, greens. Like those are my primary colors that I wear. And guess what this is? Neutrals, pinks, and lots of greens. This is a stunning palette. I recently, like a year ago, got this. I got this last year, my birthday, which my birthday is in February, so the beginning of 2025. This ranked extremely high in that ranking, and I'll leave that ranking linked down below. But this probably is one of my all-time favorite palettes. I love this dearly, and it's just such a great one. The next prompt is my new favorite palette. So I was taking this quite literally, a newer release, also newer in my collection, and also don't think this is very surprising, my Nomad Pacific Northwest. Like, come on now, this packaging is stunning. And I know they have done feeling of this feels like an oil painting. They have had other palettes that has had this texture on the packaging. And I don't know if I'm just rough with my packaging or not, but I've been having quite a lot of packaging issues with Nomad overall. And for this to be such an expensive palette, there's no reason to have some of these issues. But I don't know if you could tell, but the packaging is cracking along the edge, so it just feels rough. And I'm sure with my grubby little makeup fingers, it's eventually gonna get yucky. So that's just a packaging flaw, but the packaging itself, the overall packaging here, gorgeous. And then I am in love with this entire color story here, the blues, greens, and then you have these more, I don't want to say neutral, but you understand my gist. Such a stunning palette. I did recently get this for Christmas. It was a holiday release, not Christmas, but a wintry holiday release. This was their second to last release of 2025, and I got this for Christmas. So this is a very recent palette to me in my collection, and I love it so much. A palette you keep for the memories. Now this specific palette is no longer in my normal palette rotation, and it is not in my palette numbers or anything. It's not officially in my collection anymore. It is because it is old, and it is because the formulas have dried out and I am unable to use it like it was originally intended for. And that is my Urban Decay Stoned Vibes palette. This palette is extremely, extremely special to me. I have mentioned this on my channel quite a few times before. My fiance and I got together in 2020. This released in the holiday time of 2020. So this was our first Christmas together. This was one of his first makeup purchases for me. He has gone into Ulta and, told the lady, I want this, please find me this. And it's just very special. He went out of his way to get it for me. And it's just one of those very special palettes. Also, on top of that sentimental value, the packaging is so pretty. I wish Urban Decay would come out with something like this again. And the color story was really, really pretty. The formulas were very unique for Urban Decay. With how popular this palette was, I am shocked that this palette formula and series did not continue. Urban Decay really lost something there. But this is a palette I keep for all the memories. It is not in my current collection anymore, but I will keep it for memories and I keep it for the packaging. Next prompt is an underrated palette. I'm gonna throw an entire brand into this here. My underrated palette brand is gonna be Tarte Cosmetics. I'm wearing bright blue, and like I've said already, like I love neutrals, I love pinks. It is something that I am very fond of, I feel very comfortable in, I feel very pretty in. Tarte has some amazing eyeshadows. They're not going to be the sparkly, flippy sort of stuff that you see on the indie brands. They're not going to be like ultra impact pigment mattes. They are going to be very buildable. They're going to be very, very user friendly. The packaging on these are also very nice, although both of them are reflective. At least the two that I have. Tarte eyeshadow is very, very good if you are going to be one of those everyday sort of makeup people. I hope that slight transition from like clean girl makeup to like nothing on the eyes to having something on the eyes, like maybe a little bit of color, but just something on the eyes. I really hope Tarte comes back into play, Tarte eyeshadow anyway, comes back into play with like media. Because Tarte eyeshadows, man, this is gorgeous. So this is the Tarte Juicy palette. Are we surprised this is one of my like all-time favorite palettes? I don't use it as often as I probably should, but I have some nice dips in here. And then I also have this, it's very reflective. I have this Tarte Reflections palette. This was a relatively more recent release for their like 25-year anniversary. And I'm trying to get it so I don't really glare you all that much. But this is the palette. Neutrals, pinks, purples, some warm tones, a little bit of a bronzy moment down here. Palette also has a gigantic mirror. They're, like I said, Tarte isn't going to have the ultra flippy special shades. But they do have some really good shades, like this shade here is already swatched on my hand. Like it does have some impact to it. It catches the light really nicely. It's really opaque, smooth, pigmented. Overall, Tarte as a whole is very underrated. The next prompt is not a fave, but for some reason you can't get rid of it. I'm gonna cue my entire chopping block video. I will leave my chopping block video down below. Like, these are not all-time favorite palettes. They're ones I rarely, if ever, really reach for. They're ones that I have some slight issues with. They're not a fave, but for some reason I cannot get rid of them, which is why they're on the chopping block. And I currently have on my eyes a chopping block palette, and like I loved my look yesterday with the palette, and like this look looks really nice. I did this look as a request from Instagram, so please watch it for my answer to that question. The next prompt is my fave collab palette. Overall, I don't have too many collabs, either IP collabs or like creator collabs in my collection. And my favorite collab palette, and I'm gonna say palettes for this because they kind of all go together. And sure, I do have like favorites in the collection, but overall, they belong as an entire collection. So that is going to be this Oden's Eye trio right here. So we do have Makeup Just for Fun, the Flora Story palette. This is gorgeous. You have purples and you have greens. Lovely combo. Also, what is going on with Amanda from Makeup Just for Fun? Hasn't really posted on YouTube, and I really looked forward to her reviews and her swatches and her looks and stuff, and she really hasn't been on Instagram. I don't know if she has like a membership or something. I mean, I'm not going to buy any memberships, but what has happened to her? I miss her. I do. I don't know what she's doing. I hope she's doing well, but that is a beautiful palette. Then we have Betty Jean's palette. which Betty Jean is the only creator that I have more than one palette for. I bought her Odin's Eye release, well, the trio. I bought this, and then I also have the Fancy Cosmetica palette that she did, which overall, I like these color stories more than the Fancy Cosmetica one. Anyway, Planet Spirit, this is such a bright, lovely little palette. So fun. Really love that palette. And then probably my favorite out of all three because of the variety of color, it is going to be the Lauren palette, the Sea Talk. Just because of the variety of colors, but this palette in particular I have noticed going downhill in quality. So take that with what you will. Odin's Eye has not been a favorite of mine, but that is my favorite collab palette series, my palette series. When I said at the very beginning of this video that some of these questions are a little dated, it is probably because this was meant to be done in 2025, not in 2026 like I'm doing. This next prompt is my favorite palette of 2024. And so I had to go back and watch. I knew it was between two, but I wanted to make sure which one I actually put as number one. So in my ranking all of my 2024 palettes video, I did my Diverune Gloomy Gardens. I love this palette. I mean, I still love this palette so much. And I have gotten a couple people to check out Diverune through this palette. Their releases since this one hasn't really like tugged at a heartstring for me like the way this one did. Also, products are kind of expensive for me, so it is not very feasible for me to buy them very regularly. The packaging is stunning, but also the color story. You have so many different ways you can go with this palette. I have made some beautiful looks. It has my favorite combination of shades, 2/3 matte, 1/3 shimmer, especially if they're the flippy special shimmers. That's what these are. I also have used these for like BYOPs. These are magnetic, and they also are very conveniently, you know, has these little notches, and they have the shade names on the backs. They're already conveniently marked for you. Diverune has a lovely formula. This is their second ever palette release, so I am unaware of any changes they could have made to formula, but if it's better than this, then they're gonna be rocking because this is amazing. It did land my number one spot in 2024. The next prompt is a palette I did not expect to love. I am a lover of Sydney Grace. I love Sydney Grace. I have so many of their products throughout my entire collection. And when I'm not even meaning eyeshadow, I mean blushes, bronzers. I just finished a brow gel from them not too long ago. I have a powder foundation. Their lip products, I'm not a fan of. But I have a nail polish from them. Like, I have so much from Sydney Grace. But I was just scrolling through Mercari, and I had some Mercari cash, and I stumbled across the Blessed palette here that was in collaboration with Glitzy Fritzy. I don't really know who that person is, but this palette, I thought, this color story is up my alley. I really enjoy the color story here. I really do love Sydney Grace shadows, and I picked it up. For me to absolutely fall head over heels over this damn thing, I have never disliked a look that I've made out of this palette. Also ranked very high, or pretty high, in my 2025 ranking video. And I mentioned in that ranking video, this is everything that the Nomad Fairy Tale Europe palette couldn't do. Like, this is neutral mattes, colorful shimmers, in my opinion, done correctly. And I just love this palette. It is so fun. Sydney Grace, to me, they're not going to have, you know, the weird, funky toppers. They're not going to have the putty like shimmers and stuff, but they are like Tarte formula kicked up a couple notches. Instead of the softer buildable mattes, these are more pigmented, very blendable shades. They're much more pigmented. Shimmers have a little bit more impact to them. Sydney Grace overall has an amazing formula. Next prompt is a palette that sparks joy. And when I was looking up at all my palettes, so I have some on this shelf and then I have the entire shelf above it. When I was looking at all of my palettes, Each one of them in some sort of way sparks me joy. And I am so grateful that I am able to be in a spot where pretty much everything in my collection brings me joy. It was a struggle to come up with a palette that goes into this spot. But I was thinking color story that brings me joy, packaging that gives me joy. I also didn't want any repeating palettes. Difficulty aside, I chose my ColourPop Bratz palette. ColourPop is not my all-time favorite eyeshadow brand, but I do have quite a few ColourPop palettes. I am an early 2000s kid. I grew up with Bratz movies. I grew up with Bratz dolls. I grew up with the attitude of the Bratz. The overall palette gives me so much joy. My nostalgic childhood is in here. This color story is so incredibly beautiful. And I also took into account, and I have not filmed this yet, but this was one of my most used palettes in 2025. And it brings me so much joy. I requested this for Christmas. My sister ended up getting it for me. I was so happy. I love every single one of these shades. They do have 3 of the pressed glitter. So there's like this pinky shade, this gold, and the blue. It is one of their glitter shades, except I like this glitter formula, so I don't mind the glitter formula. Let me know down below, did you watch the Bratz movies? Did you have Bratz dolls? Did you pick up this palette? I am not one for like lips and lip kits and stuff, so I did not get the lip kits, but the eyeshadow palette I was all about. The next palette question is my newest palette in my collection. And I also have to film this, and this may go up before this video, I don't know. But my like low buy update recap of January. And I have acquired one palette this past month. So this is going to be my newest palette in my collection. And then if you are new here, a palette to me is anything a duo or larger, which is important to note because this is a What's Up Beauty duo, and it is in the shade Latitude. And it is just so freaking cute. Like, it is a perfect, simple, like, brown matte and a shimmer shade. It is a really basic little duo. It is so user-friendly. And this matte here, super pigmented. The shimmer is more of a topper shade, so it's really pretty, but it is more of a topper. And it doesn't help that it's, like, the shade of my skin tone. But the matte has a slight pink tint to it, so when I do blend it out, it has a pink tint to it. Really do love it. This came in a free gift with purchase with my What's Up Beauty order, and this is the most recent palette in my collection. This is the next question that I said is a little bit old. It is the first palette I have used in the year 2025. Because you're kind of meant to do this palette tag in 2025. But I still went back and I checked the first palette that I wore in 2025. And record shows that it was actually my Nomad Ghost Town USA palette. I did receive this for Christmas in December of 2024. So this was extremely new to me in my collection at that time. And this was a palette that at the time, I only had one other Nomad palette. It was my Tokyo Harajuku palette. And I really wanted to try another Nomad palette. This one, by far, has had the most raving reviews. And it is the one that has been very, very, very requested for such a long time. So I asked for this palette in particular for Christmas. Getting it, like, I do really like this palette. Like, I like parts of it. But overall, it is way too deep for me and for my everyday life. This eyeshadow is not really indicative of what I usually use day to day. And some of the shades and stuff I'm not the biggest fan of. Like, I am not a fan of these coppery sort of shades. I also don't really like a slate gray. I am fine with the silver, but I don't like a slate gray. So there is parts of this palette that I am not a big fan of. But this was the first palette that I wore in 2025 because it was new to me. The next question is, if you could choose a collab, what would it be? And like I said, I'm not really one for collab palettes. There is not anyone in particular that I like need to have a collab done by that doesn't already have a collab. Like, bigger YouTuber wise, like Betty Jean, I have 2 palettes of hers. I do have palettes from other YouTubers as well, like Lauren May Beauty, like Amanda, just from Makeup Just for Fun. So I don't really have any realistic, we'll call it realistic, collab choices in terms of creators. Then I'm thinking of different palette collabs that could be done with things outside of a creator. So like IP collabs, different things like that. But I really don't have anything in my life that I am that strong about that I would want a makeup collab with. And I don't really have any, I really don't have anything for this question. So I'm very sorry to disappoint. The next question, if you could redo a palette, what would it be and why? I don't want to completely redo a palette because that kind of defeats the purpose of to why I either requested it from a friend mail declutter or I went out and purchased it. If I did not like the palette, then I would not have done either one of those 2 things. But there are bits and pieces of a palette that I may want to change. This is something that got called out to me while I was kind of going through my collection not too long ago. But the Gourmand Girls Mocha Mousse palette. I bought this on Black Friday and I really do like the palette. I have made some lovely looks with the palette, but there is no reason why we have to have 2 of almost the exact same golds. This to me is a little unacceptable. And here are them swatched. There is just the slightest difference. Like one may be a little bit more green, the one may be a little bit more gold, but on the eyes, you are not gonna tell a difference between these 2. So when I thought of this question, I immediately thought of this palette. Overall, I really love the palette, but if I had to change something, one of these golds I wish had significantly more green in it, so it looked significantly more different. Because you do have this like gold purpley shade that has a purple shift to it, but you really don't have that in one of these golds. I wish something flipped a little bit more green and it doesn't. Then the last and final question that I have in today's tag video is a question that Betty Jean actually made up. I'm not going to make up a question. I don't think that's necessary, but Betty Jean came up with a question and tagged it on the bottom. The question is, what is the first palette you'd pick to travel with? And I can't pick one palette. I have 2 specific palettes that the only reason why they're still in my collection is so I can travel with them. And those 2 specific palettes are my Essence 6 pans. So the reason why this is so good for travel is, for the most part, I don't wear a whole lot of makeup traveling. So these are basic color stories that I can easily do a quick look with, make me look a little bit more put together and go on with my day. These are cheap. They're like $5 or less for each of these. And they are nice, sturdy packaging. They also have a mirror in them. And it's a big enough mirror that I can see a good chunk of my face in. This is a very useful mirror. And like, these are just like little $5 palettes. Like if this breaks, I'm not heartbroken. If they get lost, I am not heartbroken. I hate to bring something that means so much to me, or I would hate to bring something so big and bulky. Like these are such a good size. And for what I need on vacation or to travel, like I really don't need more than this. But I also wanted to throw in these other 2 palettes. I have brought out my Huda Nude Light on vacation a time or 2. I did purchase this on vacation. And again, it's a small, compact palette. Packaging is very well made, and it does have a very nice mirror. What's nice about it is that it'll stay wherever I put it. So if I have this on a desk, I don't have to prop it on top of something because the mirror will stay where I want it. Another good thing about this palette is it has 1 big pan in here, but it has such simple shades for me. Like these are types of colors that I do wear on vacation. But this is another one I have taken to vacation plenty of times if I want something a little bit more special, because those shimmers do have more punch than the Essence ones. And then the last palette I'm throwing in just for fun, the same reason. Compact size, and it has a mirror, and it has a nice diverse color story where it goes light to dark, and then I have plenty of shades that can be a taupery shade. So this is the ABH Sugar palette. I think this one would be a really nice one to travel with. I have not traveled with that specific palette, but I have traveled with the other three plenty of times, and all three of those have done extremely well in travel, in transit. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video, me going through the tag questions, and I really love doing tags because I think they're super fun. I think they're super easy, relatively easy, although I've been filming for over 35 minutes. So we'll see how this goes in editing. I just like to yap about eyeshadows, and there was quite a few questions. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I have done some other tag videos in the past. So if you search my channel and search tag after it, you're gonna find all the other tags that I have done. And if you are new here, and if you enjoy makeup related content, eyeshadow palette related content, I do project panning, anything like that, I highly recommend you subscribe. Also, like this video if you enjoy it and hype it up so more people can find this channel and this video. Comment down some of your answers to these questions, overall thoughts and feelings on the palettes I chose. I love to talk to you guys down there, and I love and appreciate all of you guys so much, and I shall see you guys next time.